Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video going to give an overall update on my Antminer K7. We're going to talk about CKB ASIC mining. Going to just talk about how it's been doing, how much yield it's making, how much yield it has generated, did it ever ROII, and kind of what the future outlook looks like, right? So if any of you guys are interested in getting a K7 potentially, or any of the CKB miners, we'll kind of go over that here real quick, okay? So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned to get to this thing. So CKB has been having a nice little run up. I'm pretty sure this is why some of you guys have been asking about the K7 recently. It's been doing pretty good, right? Currently at 0.005, and it kind of came almost out of nowhere. We had been going sideways for a pretty good amount of time. It's a little more drastic here when we look at the 1 month, because this price action is just literally just a few weeks ago, right? Not even, less than 2 weeks. So as we look at the end of January, we're at 0.0032. It's currently at 0.005. You can see like that massive candle that just went up, and it was just from a positive development coming out, right? So pretty much what it is, I mean, you can literally see it happen January 30th. You can see the tweet came out January 30th, and it's about their initiative connecting Nervos with Bitcoin, right? So pretty much acting like as a layer 2 for Bitcoin, which kind of works with their whole theming, which is like interoperability, bridging, connecting other chains together. And this is a big one because of all the hype going on with Bitcoin right now specifically, right? We've seen these other layer 2s for Bitcoin. Think of like stacks and all the just development overall. Think ordinals, BRC20, just everything going on. They're going to continue to build. There's going to be a lot of things. We're going to see DeFi on here. We're going to see smart contracts. We'll go over this article real quick, and this is just the gist of it, right? So the BTCKB initiative aims to tightly connect the Bitcoin and CKB blockchains by harnessing the power of their similarities, which is proof of work consensus, and the UTXO model. CKB can advance the Bitcoin blockchain with powerful new smart contract capabilities and bring BTC, Taproot, and RGB assets to CKB. The market really like this news. It is a big development because, again, there's so much hype with that right now with Bitcoin. And this is a perfect niche for them, right? So it is something that they're probably going to harness and hopefully development, and they're positioned to do extremely well here, right? This is what this chain specifically was for, right? So pretty good stuff to see that. So just wanted to cover that news real quick. As far as the ASIC mining aspect goes, the big thing we're kind of waiting for pretty much since the inception, since we bought this thing, was the halving, right? They did have their halving. November 19th was the date. And it kind of played out better than what even I had anticipated, right? My thought process, I was fully prepared and pretty much expecting to have to unplug, right? Because at that point, if the price would have remained around the region that it was at, it's going to be fairly unprofitable, right? Because if we go look in October, about mid-October, we're at 0.0025. So literally has 2x since then. But if we would have stayed in that range, which it kind of looked like it, right? Mid-October, it's pretty bearish looking. And that was only a month before the halving. I was pretty much 100% expecting to have to unplug. Luckily, between two factors, right? One, the price did go up a bit. Wasn't necessarily because of the halving, it's just because the market started going up. So between that, it went up just enough, and then the difficulty dropped off just enough to balance us out. Right, essentially we were pretty much just break even, which for me, that was kind of a best case scenario. That's actually what I was looking for, because initially, again, if it's going to be at a significant loss, I'd rather unplug and just buy it outright, right? Instead of being at a like $1, $2, $3, $4 a day loss, right? Luckily, so far it has worked in our favor. Pretty much since the halving, we've been able to stay plugged in, which is really good. Because the goal realistically was just stack as much as possible prior to the halving. And then for me, kind of had an issue with mine. One of my hash boards did go down in August, I want to say, and I was out of a hash board for like 2 months, right? Did get it repaired. It was out of warranty. It did have to go through a vendor. I do have a review for any guys who didn't catch that or the fiasco that happened with that. Wasn't the best quality. Did do with their BT miners. It did get done though, but you can check out the review as to why I'm saying that. But at the end of the day, all three boards are still working. They're still chugging along. They're still doing their thing. We'll see how this price action stays, right? If it stays here or even if it goes back down to where it was, I'm perfectly fine with that, right? But So far, it's been going good there. Let's look at the profitability currently for the K7. This is at a 10-cent kilowatt hour. And this is kind of a similar thing to like what happened with Kadena, right? And it was the same reason why we're kind of bullish on this guy is because it's so far ahead of everybody else, right? It is literally the two variants, the 58 and the 63.5 variant, are the only profitable ASICs for CKB at a 10-cent kilowatt hour, right? And it's pretty fascinating because that's even including these little 185 watt guys, right? Which don't cost a whole lot to run, but even factoring that in, they are still the only profitable machines, right? The most recent big boy ASIC that came out was from IB-Link, that BMN3. And you can see the drastic difference, right? We're at a $4 a day profit with one and a $3 a day loss with the other, right? So it's not even just, it's pretty significant, right? Even just a quick look at the specs. Again, it's a similar situation. It's less than half the hash rate at more power, right? So not a good combo. So far, again, it's been about a year. I'm about a week early. I think mid-February is when mine was actually plugged in and hashing away. And so far, it's been doing excellent, right? And it's been a year now. That's kind of the worry with all the ASICs. And the big reason we got it when we did is because it was a brand new one. It destroyed the competition. So we figured we at least have a solid year without any competition. And so far, that's panned out. Kind of yet to be seen though, right? We'll see if IB-Link releases anything this year, you know, because the N3 did come out last year, early last year, sometime January, February. So we'll see if they release an updated version. We'll see if Goldshare releases a CK7 sometime this year. Realistically, I wouldn't expect it because, again, it's not very popular. So it would be more in their best interest to potentially wait till we do have a run-up maybe towards the end of this year or early next year. Or maybe they just didn't have anything ready, right? Maybe they'll just have a slightly better version. Who knows? But, again, that was kind of what we're risking on. That's what we're betting on, that at best case scenario or worst case scenario that they would have something just to be able to match it, right? And so far that hasn't came. Hopefully we get another 6 months, potentially a year without any competition. That would be nice. We'll see what happens, but pretty much we've seen the average life cycle typically from like Bitmain about 1.5 years, 2 years, right? So I would not be surprised to see something next year from Bitmain. So far they haven't released anything yet. I highly doubt they will though, because again, it just has not been very popular just because it hasn't been super profitable. Initially it was, right? Initially it was fairly popular, but we saw the prices of everything go down, profitability go down, and then even ultimately, again, prior to this pump, we were barely break even. So even at the prices that they are right now, still not super appealing for most, right? So let's look at again how mine has done. So it has been a full year now. I've been on 2 miners pretty much from the beginning, right? So it's a very easy way to pretty much see how much it has accrued since then. I think I was on DX pool for a week, maybe not even a week, and then I went to 2 miners, had no issues there, so just stayed on there, right? So you can see ultimately how much it has made in total. So again, it's been about a year. I did hit that 1 million mark. That was my overall goal for it. Ideally, obviously, the more the better. But I did want to hit 1 million. Realistically, the goal I set, because again, I freaking lowball a lot of my things a lot. So my overall goal for like a 1.5 year period was to hit that 1 million, right? Realistically, the goal was to try to get that 1 million before the halving. And luckily, we did make it. Even being down that hash board for 2 months, we still did make it. We are slightly over. You can see here it's 1,073,000. And it is still profitable, so hopefully it stays this way, right? And hopefully we just stay plugged in from here on out. We'll see how long we go before we get competition. But so far, you can see fiat value-wise, it's about almost $5,500, right? But again, a lot of this is because of that pump, though, so it is a little bit unfair. We'll see where we go. I would kind of, well, right now things are bullish, right? BTC just hit 48K. So maybe we'll stay in this range, but realistically, I could see it going back down to the 0.004, maybe 0.035, which again, does put us at break even still. So even though we did have this pump, that gives me more confidence that we will be able to remain profitable, hopefully from here on out, right? So that would be pretty cool. You can see here the 24-hour rewards now is about 2,000. So it's about a little over 2,100. Compared to November, when we're getting between 4,000 to 5,000, pretty big chunk of difference, right? So again, that is because of that halving, but again, it's something we're fully aware of. and something you have to keep in mind if you're looking at any of these ASICs. Look at the coins it mines, look at the tokenomics of those coins, because that will drastically reduce your profitability, right? In this case, we definitely saw it here. Luckily, it did work in our favor where we've just been profitable, right? But again, I was fully prepared to have to be unplugged, and it is what it is, right? But luckily, again, it's been working. You can see here the current hash rate, it's at 62. Average is about 60. This is the 58 terahash model, and it's been holding up pretty good. So as far as that goes, it's been pretty nice. So again, what I had mentioned with the difficulty dropping, you can kind of see it here looking on Pool Bay. You can kind of see the peak here pretty much right at the halving, right? So initially we did get ours again about mid-February. You can see here was the beginning part of the phase. So people did start getting theirs the end of January. You can literally see the increase here. We're only at 65 petahash. As people started getting them, it climbed to a peak in pretty much March. It did go up a little bit higher then, but March, towards the end of March is when it pretty much peaked right at around 201. And then what ended up happening, right? So ended up going down. Reason being is all the unprofitable miners started unplugging, right? So all the CK5s, the CK6s, the CK boxes, they slowly started giving up. So we found this little bottom here. And then I believe probably as people started, thinking about the halving, they're like, oh, well, just suck it up and go in. And they mine until the halving, which again was about November 19th. And you can see here the drop off, right? So it went up to, again, to that 200 petahash point. And you can see the drop off after that and pretty much since then, right? So pretty much most likely where we're at here about this 154 petahash is probably just all the K7s, right? So we're currently here. We'll see what ends up happening, right? If we keep on pumping, then expect us to go up because you're going to start seeing, again, those little box miners, the light miners, all of those things start begin to plug back in. But hopefully we kind of just stay in this range, right? Because ultimately right now with that profitability, it's not the most appealing thing in the world considering the competition. And it kind of just depends on how bullish you are on CKB, right? As we look at the current prices of the K7, they did actually go down these past few weeks, right? It had been hovering in about $2,500 range, $2,300 range. Then it hit the 2,000 and then now went down to 1,750, right? So Nhash has it at 1,750. Gotta add 200 for shipping though. So realistically it's 1,950, so right under 2K, right? BT Miners has it at, let's look at the 58. New, it's about $2,000, right? So give or take, that is about the new low where it's at. Miner Bros has it at 3,000 bucks. Now, as far as whether this thing would be worth getting now, currently, okay, couple trains of thought. The biggest thing is you have to be bullish on CKB, right? At this point, the time to mine this thing was last year prior to the halving, right? The time to get it, like I mentioned in the video, in the videos I've done since then, the time to get it, if you were going to consider it, was prior to the halving, because essentially we mined that whole time at twice the rewards, okay? So, but at the same time, the price was also double the current price, right? It was about $4,000 versus now it's about $2,000. So factoring that in, you have to think of the likelihood of a bigger, better miner coming out, right? So think maybe if IB-Link releases something, Gold Shell releases something. It's a little riskier now because, again, it is about a year old now. Okay, so the likelihood of that potentially happening now does increase quite a bit. Hopefully, again, realistically, my personal guess, we wouldn't see anything until maybe towards the end of this year. But then again, who knows, especially coming from IB-Link, because again, IB-Link did just release that Caspa ASIC. So that means they do have access to better chips now. Okay, of course, they're going to release their most profitable one, which would be Caspa first, right? Who's to say that they're not developing a CKB ASIC with those same nanometer size chips? Okay, so there is pretty good potential for them to release one. Now, is it going to be much better than this guy? Probably not. Maybe slightly better, kind of like the Caspa ASIC, comparing it to the Bitmain version. It is actually a little bit better. It is a little bit more powerful, a little bit more efficient. We can definitely see that happen here. Now we got to think price points though. Okay, so if they were to release it, most likely they're not going to release it now. It'd be much more likely for them to release it once we start getting that bullish action, right? So think, after the summer, whenever we start seeing that climb, that's most likely when they'll start trying to tease it, because at that point it's going to go for a lot more, right? It's not going to be selling if CKB goes up to a penny or more. It's not going to be no $2,000 for like the K7 or the Ivy Link variant, right? They're going to be definitely selling for more. So you have to factor that in, right? So that's why it's hard for me to say like, oh yeah, it's a good buy. Realistically, it kind of is, but considering your options, I would probably go for something else. Because again, that's a big part of my thing, is that I want to have that ASIC mining for at least 1.5 years, 2 years, right? So the timing of this guy was, it's already following the project, but the timing of this guy, the KA3, was to me a huge like go flag, right? Because pretty much it was going to be the 2 years of the bear market. Hopefully we're able to mine those 2 years without any competition, just because of how much it like beat everybody else. So far we're halfway there, right? We did get 1 full year without any competition. Will we make it a whole nother year without anything? Gets a little more dicey, right? But again, at this point though, a lot of the risk is gone, because again, even if something else does come up, we've already made more than our money back, right? We're currently sitting at $5,500 if you're hodling all of it. Like for example, me, my strategy, I am hodling all of it. So for me, a lot of the risk is completely averted, right? If you were to jump in now, the yields are fairly low. Yes, profitability is like $4 or $5 right now, but realistically, I would not be surprised to see it go back down to that previous range, right? It is a lot of hype. A lot of things are going on. But we'll see what happens. For example, with BTC halving, a lot of times we do slightly dump a little bit post halving, just because people kind of realize like what's happening. So some things to consider, right? But again, just factor the timing, guys. Like the halving is coming up realistically probably towards the end of this year. Definitely the beginning, definitely 12 months from now, it's going to be a whole different thing, right? So even if like a K9 comes out from Bitmain, chances are, depending on how high you think CKB can go, it can still be a very profitable miner. Okay, and that's kind of what I'm banking on. So I'm not necessarily too concerned with like the ROII and such, mainly because my plan is to 100% sell this thing sometime in the bull market, right? And in my eyes, realistically, I should hopefully be able to sell it at minimum close to what I paid for it, right? Hopefully it's a little bit more. Hopefully it is all profit. But that's why I wasn't necessarily too concerned with the ROII, right? So kind of just depends on your mindset and the strategy. And like for me, just the timing was everything. So it's kind of hard for me to say, oh yeah, definitely go buy it. Like realistically, like I mentioned, the time to buy it and mine on it was last year, right? So it's kind of going to depend on you and how bullish you are on CKB. It's kind of a hard one now, just because again, there's so many options currently that you have your choice right now, right? It's not like in a year from now, it's going to be different. It's going to be whatever you can get your hands on, essentially, right? But right now we do have a lot of other options. We do have other options that are also cheap that did come out a little bit later. So maybe you have more leeway time before you have to worry about any competition. Because again, that's my main worry with the ASIC, because it's just, again, after learning that lesson with Gold Shell, is just letting it not happen again, right? Realistically, we did our research with this guy. We felt good about it because it's on more modern chips. So even if something else did come out, let's say the K9 does come out, I don't necessarily see it being like a monster increase in efficiency. I would see it being something like the equivalent of the XP to the S21 efficiency gain. Where yes, it's a nice efficiency gain, 25%, but it's not 100%, 200% kind of thing, right? So at that point, if CKB does well, this guy will still do fairly well, even in the bull market, even once that thing releases, if CKB does well, right? A lot of this is pending on whether or not they do well, which I personally do think they will, right? We'll see where it ends up going. We'll see what they end up doing. But right now, things are looking good. And it is nice to see positive price action from positive news coming out, right? I know a lot of people are saying, CKB is boring. Nothing's going on. And again, like I've mentioned, follow those Twitter accounts. Go into that Discord, like follow that community. If you keep yourself in this little echo chamber, you're not going to hear what's going on. Like that's a common complaint. Oh, I don't hear Ergo doing anything. I don't hear CKB doing. They really, really are, right? But if you're not following those socials, you're not going to hear any of it, right? So again, if you are interested in them, follow those things, follow their Twitters, go on their Discords, like participate in the network so you can understand what's going on, right? That way you can really determine. I know some people don't like following projects, but to me it's like, especially if you're going to invest in that ASIC, you're investing in that network, right? You need to that network to succeed. You have to feel confidence in that network. And like CKB, for example, the reason I also was bullish on it was just one I had been following already, right? I'd invested in this one in the last bull run, did me very, very well, and that's why it had me so bullish on it, right? So just different things to consider. Make sure, again, you understand the dynamics of that token, the tokenomics of that token, what's going on with that token. Do you feel bullish on that project? Because again, with that ASIC, you're stuck mining the algorithm. And specifically with CKB, for example, that Eagle Song algorithm, it's only CKB. Others, you do have a little leeway. You can potentially mine something else, but specifically with Nervos and that Eagle Song algorithm, that is it, right? So if you are interested in here, you have to be confident of what you're getting yourself into. And if you are a CKB bull, you think they're gonna do well, a full-size ASIC for under $2,000, that's far ahead of the competition, looking pretty good, right? So again, it's up to you though. It's kind of that risk you gotta take as far as whether you think another ASIC will come out, something better, how much better. These are the things you gotta factor in, but by getting them early, by getting them right on launch, right when the new big model comes out, you're kind of giving yourself more time, right? So again, that was the goal for me, right? So for me, from my perspective, I already have one. It's been a year, it is a year old, so already those things are kind of like, I'd rather get something a little bit newer, right? Or maybe more efficient, or maybe something else, right? Versus doubling down on this. Although, if they go down to quite a bit more, like if they go under $1,500, I would probably for sure pick up another one, even just to use as like spare parts, right? Because again, I paid to get that hash board repaired, and not to get a new one, not to get it really any new parts, but just to repair that existing year-old one, it was like $300, right? So if I can get a brand new unit for like $1,200, $1,500, then might as well go there and just have it as spare parts, essentially. Because again, I do see value in the bull market. I do see things going up, but just keep in mind there may be other ASICs or other ones that have more potential potentially at this time, because after the halving. Again, pre-halving, I'm very happy with the results here, right? So even just hitting that million marker, I'm happy with that accumulation. Even if I had to unplug at this point, all the way until the fall of this year, I would be fine with how much I accumulated, just because of how much I believe that million will be worth in the bull market, right? So let me know in the comments, guys. Are you guys thinking of getting one? How many of you guys have had one? Did you guys get them at launch? Did you hit that million mark? How long ago did you hit it? I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys hit it before I did, because again, I do have the smaller one, and I did get mine a little bit late, and I was down a hash bar for 2 months, right? So let me know how your guys is doing. Did you guys have issues? I know a lot of people actually did have, not a lot of people, but I know quite a few people did. I remember as far as vocally on like YouTubers and such, I know Voxcoin did have quite a few issues. He was pretty vocal about it, but let me know in the comments, guys, how it's been doing, how it's been holding up, and if you're bullish on CKB, right? Thank you for watching, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys, and I am out.